rig the NBA lottery for the Mavericks to land Cooper Flagg? I answer that and a lot more of your questions on today's Locked On Mavs.
Stop it! Stop! The number one pick will go to the Dallas Mavericks. Cooper Flagg will fly in Dallas.
Dogs, all of us, all five.
You are Locked On Mavs, your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Still can't leave.
Your team every day.
I'm going to get a city like that.
You are locked on the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Isaac. I'm one of your co-hosts covering the Mavs for the last 10 years alongside my good friend Nick Angstead. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app today. Create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Guys, we're in the dead middle. I don't even know if it's the middle. It's probably not even the middle. Dead heat of the NBA offseason. So we're in kind of our summer schedule. We have different things going on throughout the week. Thanks for all the feedback over the past few weeks on our Fantasy Draft Fridays that we've been rolling out, our Takeoff Thursdays. We're firing off some, we're each bringing a hot take to defend on the pod. We're doing that on Thursdays. We're doing What If pods. We're doing mailbag pods. And today I'm doing one of the mailbag things because we have a text insider program in which a lot of you guys, a lot of listeners subscribe to that each month. You can do that by going through the description in the show or scanning the QR code there on YouTube. But we do a once a week Q&A on there. Try to during the season, but for the off season especially, and we answer the questions on the show. So that's what I'm doing. I have a list of questions. I can't get to all of them today because the show is only 35 minutes. But I'm going to try to get to as many as I possibly can. And let's start with this first one. Question submitted. Said, from talking with people in the media and other Locked On guys, do you think that the media as a whole believe the draft was rigged for the Mavs? I mean, I think it is the overwhelming like sentiment. I would say if you talk to media who is not like or not like big time media, you know, it's the joke, right? Like it's a joke from a lot of people. But if it's like a main, if it's like a main media person who's been around for a long time, or maybe, you know, a lot of the seasoned vets have at least been there for an NBA draft lottery up in Chicago before, or maybe they were at the last one. A lot of them have been in the room at times. Zach Lowe's talked about that, being in the room at times. Different reporters have been in the room whenever those ping pong balls and the numbers and combinations and stuff are drawn. So if it's one of those people, then a lot of, I would say big media people or well-known media people, they will attest that it's almost impossible to rig it. I mean, there's different articles, especially after this last year, with Cooper coming to Dallas and Dallas getting that pick after Luka trade. I mean, of course it was the top thing that everybody went to. And you know what? I totally get it. And it's like, if for some reason they could have pulled it off, then you know what? Yes. I actually am a person who believes in some of the stuff in history. I'm not going to go down to through each of the things that I do think the NBA intervenes at times. Shocking, 2006. But this one, it's so hard because when you talk to the right people and there's so many people in the room and how the process is, it's not, you know, it's impossible with the frozen envelope and all that stuff from the past. So, as much as like I want to believe it, and honestly, I wouldn't care because I'm like, yes, Dallas, the fans, they need something with this after the trade. It's just really hard to believe that it was actually rigged. And I'm sorry for the people who do believe that, but it's just really impossible when you have that many people in the room. You can go find many articles. I think Chris Mannix wrote, which shout out if I'm suggesting a Mannix thing. I think he wrote a great article and stuff about it back around the same time of it. So I want to believe that it was probably rigged, but it's impossible to do at the same time. Another question submitted said, best case scenario for Coop comparison. person asking the question says, is it Kawhi? It probably isn't going to be Luka. If you had to guess, how do you think he will progress offensively, since it's very much can go in any direction? Which I love that you go ahead and point out that it's probably not going to be Luka. It's not going to be Luka. Cooper is a different player than Luka. I feel like this is going to be one of the number one things with Mavs fans this year, or at least the casual Mavs fans, if we want to say that, that will want to look at counting stats of Luka versus Cooper, or even some of the like step back threes highlights type of thing that Luka had early on, and want to do the comp to Cooper. And that's just not going to be fair to Cooper, because Cooper's just a different type of player, right? Like it's just, he's just different than Luka, in that Luka or Cooper is more of the, it's more of that Kawhi coming out of San Diego State type of mold. It is that Jason Tatum type of mold. I've been kind of vocal about the Jalen Johnson path. Like Jalen Johnson before his injury last year, there were people saying like he was like borderline all-star. And I know some people think you're like probably undershooting when you throw out Jalen Johnson's name and not a Kawhi Leonard, because it's not as a sexy like resume or type of thing. I'm not saying he's like Jalen Johnson is his peak, but when you go back to Jalen Johnson's rookie season in Atlanta, he averaged 16 points a game, 9 boards, 3 assists, 36% from 3, over 50% from the field. And if you told me you got that in Cooper's rookie season, I'd be pretty dang happy, especially the rebounds at 9 boards a game. I think that's going to be kind of hard for Cooper, considering if everything goes right, Dallas is probably going to be running a 2-big system with AD and another guy out there. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the best case scenario for Cooper in his career offense. Then I think you're looking at like a Tatum, Kevin Garnett with a 3. I've been more planting my flag on Kevin Garnett as like peak Cooper. A lot of people disagree with me on that, and that's fine. I think he'll be better on the perimeter than KG. But I did a whole episode on that a while back, if you want to go back and listen to that. Another person wrote in and said, biggest threat to Cooper winning Rookie of the Year. I think he's got it in the bag. I mean, he's got minus odds on FanDuel, so that's pretty wild considering where he should win this award, especially considering like Harper went to a situation where he's probably going to come off the bench in San Antonio. Wow, that's a lot of money for De'Aaron Fox. Biggest threat to Cooper, though, I mean, I feel like Ace Bailey is the number one guy that I'm looking at and saying, all right, you're probably going to play a ton of minutes in Utah. You're probably going to take 1,000,000 shots a game. Could we have a situation? I've joked about this before, that at the end of the season, where the national media is debating, well, Ace Bailey's averaging, a lot more points per game than Cooper, but the Jazz suck, and Cooper's impacting winning on a playoff type of team. So is that going to be the debate for Rookie of the Year type of thing? I don't think it will. I could see a path it goes down. Ace Bailey's my pick of the biggest threat. Sleeper pick, and I'm going to butcher the name, Yakuchonis in Miami. Sleeper pick. If you're looking at down the odds, and you're like, who's somebody I could like really look at there? I could see that situation working right. Pretty good for him. And last one I want to throw in here before we take a break. Someone wrote in and said, Cooper ends the season 37% from 3. Ends up averaging 16 points a game. AD qualifies for end of season awards. Kyrie comes back, post All-Star break for 30 or so games. So if you're getting all 3 of those games, where do you think Dallas is? And this person says, do you think they're fighting for a play-in? Do you think they're top 4, top 6? How do you see the season going? I think if all those 3 things happen, you get 30 regular season games from Kyrie. AD plays enough games to where he's qualifying for the end of season awards, and Cooper's 37% from 3, 16 points a game. Then I think you're comfortable in the top 6 for sure. I think the only debate to me is like, man, if you're getting all those 3 things, are you top 4? But I think if you're getting all 3 of those things, I'm very confident that I would say top 6 finish going into the playoffs for the Mavs. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back, and I got to answer some trade questions, and got multiple questions about PJ Washington. This podcast is brought to you by our good friends at Game Time. Where is this? Game Time? overlay here. Man, I can't read today. Game time. Have you ever decided last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, and even invite a bigger group to come with you. Game Time makes it possible. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop closer when you get the first pitch. If you want to go to one of those Rangers games and you're like, I'm kind of debating, like, do I go? Do I not? And it's like, bam, yes, you can go, because you can just open up Game Time, open up the app. You can look at the seats, the last minute deals, lowest price guarantees, and take the worry out of buying. Guys, the Rangers are killing it right now. So, and the Wings, let's go. Paige Beckers. Yeah. Wings, Rangers, let's go get some tickets to some games. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today. Create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Yeah. We're back answering some questions about the Dallas Mavericks submitted in on our text program that you can subscribe to in the description of the podcast, of the show, and all of that stuff. Took questions about Cooper Flagg in the first segment. Now let's answer some questions about trades. All right. Somebody wrote in, asked the question, what are the chances they try to move PJ Washington or Caleb Martin before the trade deadline? Well, I think anything's on the table, right? I mean, I think that's one thing. Post Luka trade, I mean, you can't say anything is not possible with Dallas when it comes to trades. So, but when it comes to like, hey, what are the chances? I mean, PJ Washington has more value on the trade market if they decide to trade him. The only thing with that is you don't have a solution to his extension stuff right now. So let's say they don't come to terms on an extension and then they entertain trading him. Well, then the opposing team is going to the same situation that Dallas is in. If they don't, like, he's an expiring contract, then he can just leave at the end of the year. So that takes away some of his value. You know, the thing with Caleb Martin that I don't know 100% on is, I know, like, we knew they liked him, but how much did they like him versus how much of it was, hey, we just want to get an asset back for Grimes because there's no way we're going to pay him what he wants. And that's my thing with the whole Quentin Grimes situation and restricted free agency that Dallas was in, because they tried to work out something with Grimes. Grimes obviously felt like he was worth more than what they wanted to pay him annually. They wanted something more around what they're going to pay Caleb Martin right now. Grimes is like, heck no, I can get more on the market as a free agent, which is what he's trying to do in Philly right now. And Dallas didn't want to like pay that, nor did they want to do this dance in the offseason. So they looked at it and said, hey, we'll get Caleb Martin for the price that we want to pay at the same position. And this is where my son is behind me. And if you're not watching on YouTube, but so when it comes to Caleb Martin versus PJ Washington, I mean, I would say Caleb Martin's more likely to be traded versus PJ. But the one thing about the PJ Washington situation, I got another question about him down here. It says, what is your best guess regarding PJ Washington? They either need to sign him or they need to trade him, right? And yes, my bet is they extend him. Like there is a new contract that they come to terms on. I think PJ's liked it in Dallas. I don't think it's a Quentin Grimes situation. I think that Dallas really likes PJ Washington here. And the only thing is like, what does he see his role moving forward and how does that impact his like contract stuff? Obviously, if you can't come to terms on a contract extension and PJ's like, hey, I want to start, you're wanting me to come off the bench, I don't know, and you're not willing to pay me starter money type of thing. If you can't come to terms on a deal, then yes, I think that's at the point that you entertain trading him. But I would say I think both are on the roster, past the trade deadline, but if I had to pick one, it's Caleb Martin that's traded. Here's another question asked by Brian in McKinney, Texas. Says, with everyone assuming that the Mavs will make a consolidation trade this season, what type of player would they target, especially if it doesn't happen until midseason? Provide some examples of some players. Dang, Brian from McKinney getting demanding here. Give me players' names. I think if they make a consolidation trade, it's going to be for a point of attack defender. We've kind of talked about that a little bit on past shows, but it's going to be that. And, we've talked about if they consolidate Omax's contract and, like a Jaden Hardy's contract, that's only going to get you a certain level of player. And now, do you go bigger than that? Is it do you look at it and say, if you're looking at the trade deadline, you're saying, hey, Max Christie is, he's great. Like he's a good young player, but he's not turning into what we thought he would be. And then you look at the Max Christie contract and you say, hey, how can we upgrade this? How can we combine another contract with Max Christie and turn him into a point of attack guy that can play a lot of minutes for us? That's the thing. Do they try to do that? If you do that and you try to combine a Max Christie with another guy, then you're looking at that like $18-20 million range. Maybe if you want to go above that, I think it's going to be how bad does Dallas want that position and do they overpay for it? Do they throw everything at Boston for Derrick White? What if Dallas is top 6 and everything's going well? The injuries are good. We're looking at February. Kyrie's about to come back. They're saying 1st of March or end of February. And they're like, hey, we're close. We believe in the team. AD's been healthy all season. Cooper's ahead of schedule. Like, this is great. We want to go all in and we're going to pay for Derrick White. Derrick White would be a great addition to the team. Herb Jones, obviously Dallas has been connected to him forever. If they could get Herb Jones, that would be great. Point of attack guy. He just got extended to New Orleans. So underrated one. If Phoenix does suck this year, do they try to flip Brooks at the deadline? Is Dylan Brooks a guy that you try to go after if you're Dallas? I think some of the stuff from Dallas would make sense for Phoenix to split Brooks up into a couple of players for depth and stuff as they're in kind of like this rebuilding phase. And is Brooks good enough to be your point of attack guy? I don't know how y'all feel about Dylan Brooks. And then how much is left in the tank of KCP? I feel like you could probably get him for fairly cheap. Do you try to get a KCP? Does he still fit that point of attack defender type of role? So those are some names. Those are obviously bigger contract names. Those aren't into the roster. So Dallas would have to really look at it and say, hey, Max Christie's not cutting it right now as a point of attack defender. So we kind of want to upgrade that spot. Already answered the PJ Washington question about extending him. My bet is they do extend him. Here's the last question in this segment. Somebody said, how quickly are fans going to call for an AD trade? This person says, I think right after the first week of the long injury stretch he goes on, and we see how good I think PJ and Flagg will look in the front court. This could get ugly with the Mavs fan base, right? I already feel like AD is so underrated right now. I mean, you're involved in a trade like that. What a weird scenario for him to be in. And now I think in a weird way, he's kind of getting overlooked with how good he can be when he's healthy. But if he gets hurt early on and is out for a while, it's going to be a tough stretch, especially, if Cooper and PJ's then playing with Lively and it's like fast paced and it's like highlights everywhere. Talking about an awkward situation, because then you're going to have like Nico, AD, half of the fan base camp of, hey, AD, when he's healthy, the two-way guy, this is who you traded Luka for. He can be a top 10 player in the league. You got to have him to win a title. Then you're going to have another camp that's going to be like, hey, well, we just saw what this team looked like without him, and that's the future. And Cooper and PJ at the 4 instead of, AD with Lively, all this stuff. I just hope so bad that doesn't happen, because I'm already drained thinking about that argument among fans. And then Nico's going to be defending AD because it's just going to be a mess if that happens. So please, at least not early on. I can't take a big AD injury early on for it's like multiple weeks and all of that. So yeah, with the question to whoever wrote that in, how quickly are fans going to call for an AD trade? I think there's a portion of Mavs fans right now that are calling for the trade already, and he hasn't even got hurt yet, or at least for this upcoming season. Let's take another quick break, and then we'll be back, and I'm answering a bunch more questions about this season. I might rapid fire some at the end. Somebody asked if myself, Nick, and Slightly would go play golf with them, and interesting. A lot of other really, really interesting questions coming up right after the break. This podcast is brought to you by our friends over at Open Phone. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had an urgent need, maybe for a plumber or a service provider. If the person didn't answer, did you wait? Probably not. You moved on. That's me. Like, you don't answer. I'm just moving right on to the next person. That's why you need Open Phone. Open Phone is the #1 business phone system built to streamline and scale your customer communications, all from an app on your phone or computer. Open Phone lets me manage business calls and texts from a single app. There's a shared inbox. There's an AI agent that handles after hours calls. What? We might need one of those for the show. Have a AI intern. Open Phone is offering our listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That's openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. And if you have existing numbers with another service, Open Phone will port them over at no extra charge. Open Phone. No missed calls, no missed customers.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
All right. We're back. Sorry, guys. My son was involved in the last segment some. Threw me off a little bit. Yes. So then I had to... You know what's difficult? Texting your wife to come get your kid while you're doing a solo podcast. So while you're talking about Mavs with your son grabbing the mic, texting your wife, asking her to come get your son. That just... I love multitasking, love being efficient, but that almost just broke my brain last segment. So sorry if that was a little weird, or if you're like, you really didn't say anything right there. And that's why. I don't know really what I said. I'm going to have to listen back to it to see what I said. So I'll probably get in trouble for something I said. Let's answer another question. Answering questions today on, that were submitted through our Text Insider program. This question: what is the best and worst case scenarios for this upcoming season? What a great question. I thought about this question a little too much because I just wanted to think about all the different routes of it. But just for the simplicity, worst case scenario, this is what I've landed on. Outside of, like, obviously if there's some catastrophic injuries to somebody, like, I'm not doing something like that. Worst case scenario: Cooper Flagg takes way slower, or way much more time to acclimate to the NBA. It comes out that Kyrie's out all year from his injury recovery. AD has multiple injuries throughout the season to where he's just never like fully healthy, never comfortable on the floor. And the Mavs sneak into the play-in and then sneak into the 8th spot and get swept. I think that's the worst case scenario. And some of you might be saying, so the worst case scenario isn't like missing the play-in completely? No, because I think they would reach a point, honestly, if they're fighting for the 10th seed and they're in like the 11th or 12th spot, I would hope that they would reach a point to where they're like, hey, we're just going to kind of throw this last like 2 weeks of the season. Like, we're not going to get anywhere. So last year, did they? No. They got to the play-in and almost got to that 8th seed to get beat. But that would just be miserable, right? Like, you would lose draft spots. You get to the 8th seed, probably get swept by OKC. You have all these things that happen throughout the year. That's the worst case scenario. Best case scenario: Cooper Flagg's Rookie of the Year. And he is awesome in his first year, not putting up crazy counting numbers, but it's just, he's acclimated completely to the NBA super, super fast. Kyrie's back at like end of February, 1st of March. AD plays 65 to 70 games, qualifies for end of season awards, and just killing it. The Mavs finish as a top 6 seed in the West, and they go to the conference finals. I think that's best case scenario. And you're like, Isaac, which one do you think Mavs will go down? It's like, Is there a middle spot? That's, we'll see. We'll see. This question says, if AD stays healthy, I think he's finishing top 5 in the MVP this season. Do y'all agree? So I worked in reverse on this and said, all right, who would he have to beat out to be in the top 5? So you look at SGA, you look at Jokic, Giannis, Luka. If you look at those 4, do you see Anthony Davis beating out one of those 4 for a top 5 finish in MVP without an injury to one of them? I think it's going to be pretty tough, right? Like Jokic is just locked in every year. SGA, if OKC finishes with, SGA led the league in scoring last year. They won, 7 games last year. He's going to be right back up there again. Giannis, the Giannis one is interesting. Like if you want to tell me AD has a fully healthy season, is it a matter of record at that point? Giannis versus AD. Luka, the table's set for Luka, right? It feels like we've said that for a long time in Dallas of like, this is Luka's MVP season. He's always favored, and he hasn't gotten a chance to win it or to be close to winning it, even though he should have. So then it comes down to top 5. If you don't think he's going to beat those top 4, you're like, all right, I think he'll finish top 5. Then who does he have to beat for the top 5 spot? Is it a Donovan Mitchell? Is it an Anthony Edwards? Is it Jalen Brunson? What if the Knicks finish first in the East next year with some of those teams down? Is it Brunson that gets a top 5 finish, which is crazy to think about too? But is it outlandish to say you can finish top 5? No. Do I think it would be very, very difficult? Yes, I do think so. Yeah. This question says, hey, what's your most optimistic prediction for the Mavs win totals? On the Hoop Collective, they predicted the Mavs to go under 40 wins. I believe they'll get to 47 or no higher. That's from Eddie. Dang, under 40 wins is tough. Yeah, I just don't. I didn't get to listen to that episode yet. So obviously Tim's a friend of ours, but I don't. Yeah, I just don't think that. I don't think they're going under 40 games at all. Mid 40s. Could I see them hitting 47? Yeah. But you're also talking like, I'm also somebody that's like, why do I think that they'll hit that mid 40 number, or 47 maybe? The biggest, I'd say, difference from me and some other people with Dallas is, one, I don't think Kyrie is going to be out the whole season. To where I haven't heard anything about PJ and his extension stuff. I don't know anything about that. I don't want to act like I know anything about that. Kyrie, I'm confident in saying right now that I don't think he's out the whole year. Yeah, I don't think that. I think D'Angelo Russell is not going to be a bad signing. I'm a little bit more pro on that than most people. And I think Cooper Flagg's going to have an immediate impact. Not like, hey, putting up 35 a game, but I think he's going to impact winning from day one. So those are the 3 things for me that puts it over the top a little bit for Dallas, that I think they could hit that middle 40 number. There's just no way to predict Anthony Davis's health and say, well, I think AD, like, there's no way to, like, you can't predict that. So I hope so. Hope that's the case. So yeah, but over 40, yeah, for sure. Last question here. Do you think Luka will ever come back to Dallas after Nico is gone, or has ownership totally ruined that? I ask because LeBron went back to Cleveland even after the owner said all those nasty things in the letter. I feel like we get questions about this every week. Every week there's multiple texting questions, or somebody will tweet at us and be like, hey, is Luka ever going to come back to Dallas if Nico gets fired and all this stuff? I don't think Luka's ever coming back to Dallas. I'm sorry. Like, I hate to burst your bubble on that. I just think it's gone. I think that page is officially turned. I don't think it matters if Nico gets fired tomorrow. I think the only thing that would even slightly crack open the door would be if this ownership group sells. If they sold, which I don't see that happening anytime soon since they just recently bought the team. And it's full clear deck of everything. But even that, I just don't think it happens. Another thing to keep in mind with that, Luka didn't need the Mavs. He loved the city. He did. He said all the stuff, and he was invested in all the stuff. But Luka didn't need the Mavs. He was already an icon in Europe. He was already the best player to come out of Europe, in all of that stuff. So it's like, it's not like, and we've talked about this before, but it's not like he came over as some like Giannis to Milwaukee, and he's like super skinny, and it's like, oh man, he's so raw, but you see the potential. And Milwaukee helped and there's all this supporting cast, and they helped kind of groom him in a way to become this monster that he is now. And he's amazing. Luka, he just didn't need Dallas to do that. That's where he landed. That's where he did his thing. So, what is he wanted to stay in Dallas and all the stuff, but, I think some of that stuff, or, LeBron was from Ohio. So I don't think that's apples to apples there. Or is that the saying? Apples to orange? Either way, I don't think it's ever happening. So I wouldn't hold your breath on that, or might be a short ride for you. All right. That's it. That's it for today. Sorry if I didn't get to your questions, man. There's so many different questions. Actually, I can fire off some. Somebody wants us to go golfing with them. Maybe, sure. I guess I'd be down. Slightly be tough right now with his, Aircast and all this stuff. Somebody asked what NBA role would I play if I was in the NBA. There's no role that I could play. I would suck. But if the NBA was toned down to the level, the pickup ball that I play now, then I don't know. A lot of people say the Boris DL route, but yeah. Someone said last year when we were on the brink of forfeiting games due to injuries, if Kid came up to us three, me, Nick, Slightly, who's hooping for the last 2 minutes to win the game? Well, Slightly has a broke foot right now, so it'd come down to me and Nick. I don't know. I've never seen Nick play basketball, so I don't know. I'll say myself, even though I could 2 minutes on the floor, I would just get obliterated. Can Micah play point guard? Oh man, I love the sports executives in Dallas right now. Stuff about the NBA stadium. Who gives the best Mavs interview of all time? I'll end it. Well, somebody said, what if Jaden Hardy takes a leap? Let me know, shoot another text in. I just want to check in and make sure you're okay. Whoever sent that one in. I'll end on this one. Who gives the best Mavs interview of all time? I'm going to go with Kyrie, since I've been covering the Mavs. I've said this before, but Kyrie, since he's been in Dallas, there's not very many players that will treat you and talk with you like you're on their level. A lot of players, young or old, especially when it comes to media, we're like nobody to them. You don't expect to be anybody to them at all either. But every small opportunity that I've had the chance to interact with Kyrie or interview him, or have some type of small conversation with him, he's always talked to me on a peer-to-peer level, even though we're not peer-to-peer. And I've always valued that in him and valued his honest answers of things. So yeah, and he's always just fun to talk to. I like asking him about his family and stuff, and just, off the court stuff and whatever. So I'll say Kyrie. He's been a blast to cover in Dallas, and if there's ever a chance to interview Kyrie, I'm going to sign up for it every time. Guys, that's the show. We'll be back tomorrow. I think all three of us are coming back tomorrow night to record a show or two. And then, we're just inching closer and closer to the end of the season. Thanks for listening. Yeah. Peace out. Boom. See what this button does.